Well, let's see. You still see me?
Yep, I can hit Gallant.
Hi there. Hi,
There's-
Paul.
Hi there. Well, this is interesting.
Hey, Dick, you might want to tilt your camera down a little bit. Just the top of your head, your face is showing, and that's about it.
How's that?
Yeah.
How's that?
Oh my
Okay,
gosh. Yes, we see.
Oh, I found it.
good. Paul, you're looking better. I'm glad after a while back there. You look pretty good.
Oh, that's it's a false impression, false image.
Hey, Frank.
Hi, Bill. Hi, guys. Hi, Dick. Paul. Bill.
Hi.
Frank, are you in Chicago right at the moment?
I am. I'm delayed getting to Wisconsin. I had surgery.
Oh,
I've got a lot of problems in my body. I needed a knee replacement about 3 years ago, and 2 different illnesses have made it impossible for me to get approval from. Right now, I have about 5 doctors that I'm seeing.
oh, geez.
And whenever you have surgery, at least orthopedic surgery, the orthopedic surgeon wants approval from every one of them.
Oh, gee, yeah.
Yep.
And my lung doctor, they balked. He told me in an interview in February that he was okay with the surgery, and then he wouldn't sign the document that said it was okay for me to go ahead. I don't know. There's sometimes these doctors can get screwy, fussy. I probably had to plead with him. He was the last one to approve my surgery. So it was delayed. I didn't get it done until late March.
Ah,
And I'm in physical therapy every other day. You guys don't want to hear it.
Let's see, that's
Mike.
Frank, yeah. Mike Burford here.
yeah,
Can you hear
Mike, you might want to tilt your camera a little bit up or down or something. There you go.
Okay, you're okay. I'm okay?
Yeah,
Good.
you're okay.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Has Michigan had its primary yet? My wife wanted me to ask you guys. Has there been a candidate for Senate for Debbie Stabenow's seat? Chosen?
Yeah. Sorkin and Rogers.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
My wife makes all kinds of political contributions.
Hmm.
The old-fashioned way, she mails them in.
Mhm.
She refuses
That's
to pay.
good.
She refuses to pay online. Even our bills, she won't pay our bills online.
Oh, Bill Gebhard, is that just a background or are you actually
In Florida, I too.
on the beach?
It's just manufactured. I'm actually back in Michigan. I haven't changed them.
It looks good. It looks like you're on the beach.
Yeah.
It felt like it up until about the middle of last week.
Let's see, Norb coming online shortly. Got his name. Is that Mike Donelly down there and the coming on?
And you guys are probably all are eating your dinner yet, and it's 6 o'clock here in Chicago. So if you see me munching on something, it's because I'm still eating.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's Mike Donelly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see me? I can't see anybody.
Oh, yeah, we can see you. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, let me know if
There's
I start
Mike.
nodding off or something.
And there's
Mike, you're on
Norb.
TV now.
Whoop, Norb, we could see you there for a second, so whatever you did,
You'd start video participants chat show
There.
screen summary.
There we
see
are.
you now, Norb.
Gotcha. We gotcha.
White balance mode space.
I clicked on start video and it turned it off. I thought
Oh,
that's why you missed me for a moment. You know, I can't start the video when you have the recording on until I say it's okay.
oh. Hmm.
There's Albert.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm here. Way over in the corner, way in the corner of the state, 2 blocks from Indiana.
Yeah, I was down that way a long while back, and I know when you say you're 2 blocks away from Indiana, that's what I remember.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I just got back. Go ahead.
How did you happen to pick that spot?
Well, long story short, it was COVID and you couldn't find the house anywhere up near not Cherville, Stevensville or St. Joe up there. And they were going like hotcakes, and my wife was born in New Buffalo. She spent the first 4 years of her life, got baptized here and everything in the same parish we're in right now.
Oh.
And this way we're halfway between Chicago, where my son and granddaughter and his wife is there. And then my daughter, who's a doctor, had been up in Grand Rapids until this is her 3rd week at Bronson in Kalamazoo.
Oh.
It's a little closer.
Yeah, she bought an 1890 house on the hill above both Cal College and Western.
Wow.
And the house was built about 4 years before there was even a Western University.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's a lovely Victorian home that needs a lot of work. So I've been sometimes doing a triangle between Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and New Buffalo. And that's
What
quite a
street
search.
is it on, Al? What street is it on?
It's right above that roadhouse. It's only 2 blocks from St. Thomas More.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. I'll look it up here. Sprague at anyway. I'll look
Okay,
it-
all right.
It's right up above the Cal's field house, I think it is, and above the fields for Western there, just off of. Well, it's already Michigan Avenue by the time you get that far in. She's between Maine and Michigan.
You have a porch view of the stadiums and so forth?
Hey, what? Oh, you mean like a bleacher seat?
Yeah.
No, there's too many trees. But all you got to do is walk 2 blocks down there and sit on the side of the road and see it. Mhm. They have those road races are on the street. So on Saturday or Sunday, yesterday, I was coming in about 7 a.m. They had those streets all blocked off already.
Yeah.
So did you go to church there yesterday, Paul?
I did. I went to the 8:30 mass, and so we're north of town.
Yeah. How far?
About 6 miles, something like that.
Oh, that far. I helped my dad put in that new 131 when you take your son to work day. When 131 was being put in just north of the bypass on the north end.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just a mile north of that.
Mm. Well, anyway, we don't want to monopolize the conversation here.
Well, Frank hasn't started yet, so.
Oh, well, you got a few words in there that I missed before I lined that. We wish you as good a health as we can wish you there, Frank.
Yeah, thanks.
Albert, you've got something covering the camera. We only
that's
whatever
fine.
there it is.
that was my fingers. I'm holding up my eye. Sorry.
And Norb, if you're listening in, we lost your picture again.
well, okay.
We can
Where's
hear you.
Mike?
Okay, there you go.
Where's Mike Murphy?
He's there in the middle.
I'm here.
I don't see him.
Hello. I see you.
Oh,
There you. Are you coming and going?
While we're
Oh,
dealing
this
with
is weird.
technical issues,
Okay.
I can hear everybody, but I can't see anybody, and I don't know if there's a setting
Okay, there we go.
that
Mike,
changed.
there's a thing called gallery. Try that
I
on the right-hand side, up high.
don't see gallery.
Oh, okay. Maybe yours doesn't have it. I
Mark
don't know.
record, full screen, and that's it. I got a new computer since the last time, and this is the first time I've used Zoom since then, and it didn't load nicely.
Oh,
On an iPad, it looks like you can just scroll across the bottom and get a few people at a time.
Yeah, I got AI companion, which it doesn't appeal to me.
There we go.
All right. Norb, you're back in.
all
Don't
right.
touch anything.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there he is. Everybody feeling all right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
For the most part, yeah.
We're on the right side of the turf, right?
I just got a letter from a cousin of mine that I was reading right before I signed on here. And one of the elements of the letter was my cousin, John Leonard, who was a parishioner of St. Stephen's Parish, and he was ordained as a Melkite priest in 1973. And he served in the Middle East and different places as a Melkite priest. And then when he retired, he came back, and probably I went to St. Stephen's again, but he lived in Grand Rapids until he died.
Ooh.
I thought it was interesting after someone sent out the article by Joe Amar,
Yeah.
who I think is also a Melkite priest.
I went to school with Joe Amar at St. Thomas. And then he was
Yeah,
at St. Joe's.
I were classmates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill Yagerlener, I wanted to compliment you on all the information you send us on various times, especially what's happening to the old seminary grounds.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's really a lot of the photography, and that video was the work of Tom Dalton, who lives nearby there. So he's our sort of guy on the street, man on the street. And he's got a really good relationship with the people in the retirement home, the old main building. So he's able to walk in and go up to the back of the where the stairs were. He's got a spot over right in that stairwell above where the refectory was located. So he's got a really good shot right up there of what's taking place in the housing development behind. So it's been a lot of fun, interesting to look at how that whole thing is developing, and look at some of the old our old stomping grounds. Jeez.
It looked
I
like
thought
they
it
were.
was interesting. I thought it was interesting that the at St. Henry's Hall, in front of St. Henry's Hall and the convent, there's a playground for little kids.
Right.
Why didn't we have that?
Yeah. we had the smoking path. Remember that?
Right, that wasn't behind. This is in front, but you're
I know,
right.
yeah. I think that went back to the time when it was I forget what the name of that academy operated out of the grounds for a while. And as I recall, they had that's when the playground was installed there. And that's about the only thing that's left of that era. And a few times that I've been over there, I would see, kids from the neighborhood coming over there and using that swings. But that's what that is.
Aren't there kids at Bethany House, Old St. Henry's?
Kids?
Yeah, kids.
I think they're teens. primarily.
Oh, okay, okay,
They fall into that category of general refugees.
right.
That Bethany has operated that as a center for kids. I say
Right.
young people.
Mhm.
Probably, I'm just guessing from what they've said that they were coming up from primarily from Mexico, and they provide them with that shelter and sort of safe haven.
Mhm.
They don't really like to call attention to what their services are because they're concerned that some of the violence and the gangs that they had to deal with when they were in the Mexico and Central America
Oh,
might know
Who they are.
where they're located, so they're very
Mhm.
hush about that. Speaking of which, though, one of the things that I've noticed is that a couple of years back, when Dwelling Place of Grand Rapids was putting together the housing section there on the athletic field, that part of the concept at that time was to build an extension of the old St. Henry's and put up I can't remember whether it was a 3-story building that would link over to what we remember as the convent.
Yeah.
But that has sort of gone by the wayside as financing didn't materialize, and costs of doing that kind of work has pretty much soared in the last few years. So you never know, that might be back on the in their plans at some point in the future. That what we knew as the convent is like their offices for Bethany Christian Services over there, and the St. Henry's Hall itself is residential, and just like it was when we were there, classrooms and so on.
Mhm.
So
Makes sense.
yeah, it's so nice to see something sort of in keeping with our values taking place on that property. When you look at some other pieces of property that have just fallen into disrepair, and it's kind of nice that the general services that are being provided are things that fall into line with what the original occupants of that sort of felt. So that's kind of.
Bill, I have a question about Samaritas. Did we ever get a plaque or something put on their wall?
Yes, we did. Couple of years ago, I followed through with that, and it turns out that the guy that I was dealing with over there at Samaritas had moved on to some other stuff, and it sort of fell by the wayside. But the construction manager said it was in their warehouse somewhere, and he was just waiting for instructions on where to put it.
Oh, gee.
And they had the construction people had actually drilled holes in the wall. It's in the when you walk in the main door, and on the left side was the sort of the Mitch's office area.
Yeah.
And I think it's right in there that they had 4 holes in the wall, and they were just waiting for something to materialize.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'll dig out a picture of that. It's nicely worded. We came up with something to the effect that this commemorates it's a thank you to the alumni of St. Joe's who lived in this facility for a number of years, something along those lines. It kind of acknowledges the history of the building. So yeah.
Okay, good. I still get emails from them. I was one of the contributors.
Right. Yeah, me too.
And I get every other month. I get an email from Samaritas.
Right, right. And I need to get in touch with Tom Dalton and the folks at Samaritas. About a year or 18 months ago, maybe about 18 months ago, Samaritas had new leadership in their whole Michigan operations, and they changed their interest in senior housing and began selling off some of their other properties. But I think what the properties that they disposed of were really kind of higher end retirement villages. But I think the one at St. Joe's fell under their mandate of providing affordable housing. And so that, and as I understand it, it's still operated by Samaritas. So, well, let's see. Oh, I know. One of the things I wanted to call folks' attention to was the fact that Chuck Howley, and I think about the only one who may remember him is Norb. Chuck Howley graduated from the seminary in 1960. So that would have been the year that he graduated in June. And we, the class of 1961, our class, the firsties, we started in September of 1960. So we many of us, and I say only Norb might be the only one who actually remembers.
I remember him.
I remember him very well.
He's a good athlete. He could skate. I think he was, Norb, was he the, what do you call it? He was in charge of the altar.
Oh, the sacristan.
Sacristan.
More than
Sacristan, yeah.
Okay.
But he was, I don't know, he was from Saginaw, I remember that.
Right.
He still is. He still is in Saginaw.
Okay, yeah. He was a good person.
Yeah, he was ordained.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Right. But at some point he left. And got married.
Well, anyway, he has. Well, first of all, he would. A good 6 months or so ago, he let me know that he had all of these old recorders from the 1950s.
Wow.
And so I thought, wow, that's really nice. All we have to do is he can drop them in the mail to me, and I'll take care of scanning them. And that started off about a month and a half tussle with the postal system over what happened. They never got delivered.
Oh, no.
As a matter of fact, the irony is Chuck thought he was going to add an extra layer of security by requiring a signature for the priority mail package. The irony is that it arrived on August 20th or 22nd when we were having that get-together at Bill Gebhard's. And so I wasn't home to sign for it. Now, supposedly, when you're not home, they leave a notice that says, we have this package, requires a signature, we'll deliver it tomorrow, or you can go to the post office and pick it up. Well, I'm only a couple blocks from the post office, so I waited for well, first of all, I never got that notice. And so after I got in touch with Chuck again, he said, yeah, well, it says it was delivered. So I walked over to the post office and I said, the guy who sent it said he received a notice that it was delivered, and it's not. So we're thinking maybe it got stuck in the back room somewhere. And people at the front desk, oh, well, no, that can't be. It's just, I said, well, can't you check it? Well, no.
No.
And so then I had the manager come out and we went through the story one more time. And she said, well, just a minute, I'll go in the back and see if anything is there. She came back out a few minutes later and said, no, it's not here. So we thought, what in the heck happened to that? This is a mysterious loss. So we started the process of putting a tracer on the package.
Sure.
Chuck did it from his end, saying, recounting the whole thing. The thing is, he couldn't, for the longest time, he couldn't even find the receipt that showed that he had paid for it. And on my end, I formally put in a request that the package had been lost in the mail. And we went going back and forth on this whole thing for even another week or so. And finally, Chuck got a message from the Postal Service that said it had been found and it was being sent back to Saginaw. and so we looked at the records. He sent me the tracking information, and sure enough, it said it was sent from West Bloomfield back to Saginaw. Well, that tells me, one, that it was sitting there in the West Bloomfield post office, but somebody couldn't or wouldn't find it. So finally, it arrived back in Saginaw, and Chuck went over and picked up the package. And then we decided the only way to to do this safely is to actually us to meet up and physically transfer the package. And so, his wife and my wife, we decided we'd drive over to Fenton. That was about a halfway spot. So we got over there and found a deli that, neither of us had been in Fenton. But we managed to swap the packages right there. So I thought, well, that's the end of it. Well, I kept getting responses from the post office that said, sorry, we're working on it, but we can't find it. And because they were sent with an automatic response system, there was no way that I could say, well, you can call off the search because it's been found. But, it went on like that for a few more months. And finally they said, well, we gave up. We can't find it. I thought, yeah. But that kind of makes me wonder what in the heck. My suspicions were correct. It's back there somewhere. It's sitting on a shelf. Oh, no, it can't. It can't be. That's all. And I said, well, look, I went on line. I brought along the URL and said, look, see, this is what it says. I brought in a screen print of everything. And it said, well, we can't go into that system from from the post office. From our computers in that branch. We just can't do that. So we'll keep looking. And finally, I got a note from them that said, well, we've given up. We can't find it. I thought, oh, brother, talk about the postal system and screw up. Well, anyway, that gets me into this. He had a couple of years back, excuse me, he had sent a note saying he had, I don't know how many of you, I think all of you guys, it was, remember the mission raffles that took place in the springtime, I think it was. And they would have selling tickets to the raffles. And, well, at one of the raffles, he won a 8mm camera. And so anyway, he said that he had taken a number of reels of film, and but he wasn't really knowledgeable about how to make it into in a format that other people could read. So I sort of kind of explored around. And I found out, I mean, there's several commercial operations that you probably see ads where you can send it off to them and they'll digitize it, you know, and there's a fee for it. But I happened to, he said, actually what he said was he thought between 4 and 6 reels of film that he had put onto one large reel, but he wasn't quite sure exactly how many there were. So I went over to this photo service right near me, right near the post office, as a matter of fact. And I said, you know, how would you suggest proceeding on this? Well, I learned a lot. Turns out that this company, it was called Height Photo. It was an old-time name in the Detroit area. His father used to operate a company in the city of Detroit, not far from the General Motors building in the New Center area of Detroit. And it was called, their big brand was Height Overnight. And they had a big contract, and those of you from the Detroit area would remember Cunningham drugstores. And they had this arrangement with Cunningham that you could drop off, and I used them all the time. I would drop off a roll of slides, and 24 hours later, I'd go over to the Cunningham store and pick them up. So over time, as those other little things like Photomat and some other of those sort of instant processing companies showed up, their concept of doing stuff that kind of basis had fallen by the wayside. But then lo and behold, they showed up in my neighborhood, and I thought, well, you know, I've had stuff done over there over time. But anyway, what I found out was they estimated that it would have probably about 300 feet of film, and it would cost 35 cents a foot in order to digitize that. And the math came out to a little over about $105. And the nice thing about that is they don't send it out anywhere. They do the work right there in their store. So that would relieve the concern about the film getting out of our hands. Anyway, I started thinking this thing through, and I decided, you know, 105 is a little, pretty much, you know, beyond my individual capabilities. And I touched bases with Angela over at the Diocesan Archives to see if she has a really wide array of equipment, hardware over there that Jim Blanchard has been using to get some of those old recorders. But she said she didn't have that. They looked at it one time and just decided it was too expensive, and it was too expensive for the diocese archives to try and they only have a handful of 8mm films. And so it was just, beyond their capability. Well, I got to thinking, and this is sort of where we are right now. I was going to put out an announcement to the alumni group to say, look, we got to come up with maybe between $100 and $125 to transfer this 8mm, these 8mm films into a digital format that we could post on the website. And I kind of floated that initially by Chuck, but he was just sort of not up to digitalization at all. So at any rate, I wanted to throw. The nice thing about that is it would show. I assume would show a lot of stuff that he shot around the seminary in probably the late 50s. And when you think about it, he said he won it because he had the most tickets in the drawing or something. And he said he sold a ticket to everybody who was a student there at the time. And so people remembered him if for that reason only. But anyway, what I'm guessing is if we could come up with, some people who could afford $10 or $20 a piece to kick in until we had a big of enough fund available for me to go and get the films over to this film processor. I'd be willing to do it, but 100 is a little bit beyond my stretching point. So I kind of throw it open to you guys to get some reaction or interest on your part.
Can I have a question, Bill? Is this an 8mm? I mean, how do you project it? Do you have to have a projector to run it, to view it?
Well, he does. He has his own projector.
Who, Chuck?
Chuck. Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the only way that other people can see it is if he has them over at his place and they get out the projector. But by digitizing it, it would be in what's called an MP format, which is a digital video format. And that's what
Good.
it sounds like Norb is on the
I'm on
phone
a
with
Zoom
somebody.
call, but I'm on mute, so.
I have a suggestion, Bill.
Sure.
You pull this off. If we were to give you, I don't know, I'll just say amount of money.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
That would equal
If it doesn't, if we don't get done,
to cover the cost, okay, to do
well,
this.
they're gonna go on for a while.
And if later we're going to talk about meeting somewhere, well, could we try to have a deadline of trying to have it finished so that we could view it and we all came together?
Sure. Yeah, we could. My plan was to put it on the website.
Okay, yeah, but I just thought maybe.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, even if you had it on the website, I guess we could watch it there too. But it was just a thought.
Oh, yeah, right. We could easily do that if we have a get together, this summer sometime.
Right.
Or we could do a Zoom session where we're looking at it that way.
Church Saturday.
But yes, that's my whole thinking of this is that
Dave and Joan and played
we're
cards and had dinner.
at a spot where there's another
good.
chunk
We
of
had
seminary
terrible days playing
history that
It was,
we don't know how
I wasn't the only
much
one.
longer it's going to be
cards. The four of us,
available.
it just seemed like we weren't
And
getting
so
good cards or
I'd
playing
like
them
to
well.
seize the opportunity
whatever,
while
but
we
anyway,
can.
I
And
ended up. wasn't the
it's
last
like
place.
buying a pig in a
Not
poke.
that
I'm not sure
matters,
exactly what we will see,
I just thought it was
but
odd. that
I'd be
that
willing to
was
take
on.
that chance.
Because the time we played
if
before,
if
it was
others
just, everybody was just
were willing
making
to
it, making
kick in
it,
some-
doing this and doing that.
And it wouldn't take, if we had
People got set a lot.
10 guys kicking
Uh,
in $10. That's
Bill,
yeah, yeah.
can we just give our response on your St. Joe thing where we say, yeah, we're coming to the
I was
meeting and
just checking to
stuff
see if I
and
was
tell how much we're willing to
mute. I should be on mute.
give through that method?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hang on, I lost track of who it
No,
was
okay,
that said
you're-
that.
And
That's Al speaking.
Oh, okay. I can still
Anyway,
hear Norb in the
today I
background.
went to Planet Fitness.
Yeah, Norm is just.
Gotta let Norb know that he's still unmuted.
So I was very encouraged by that. Yeah, we did stretches
Hey, Norb,
and
Norb.
oh yeah, I'm wearing I wore a t-shirt today to
Yeah, I guess he isn't listening.
Planet Fitness, and on it says every time a
Can you mute him,
child is
Bill?
born, so is a grandpa.
Yeah.
Which Lynn gave to
I
me
got to mute here.
when she was pregnant with Josh.
It doesn't seem to be doing
And
it.
so as I was getting out of the car, she says,
He must have the
"You know,
override.
your shirt is older than Grant."
I scroll over, but it's not doing anything.
Okay.
So I told them that they all got a big laugh out of it.
Okay,
You got
Now
him?
his mic's
I
off.
muted. I muted
His
him.
mic's off now.
Right.
So,
Right. Yes. Yeah,
so
I could.
you heard my proposal there, Bill?
Yeah, my plan was to, let people know that we
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
of getting this and ask people to respond, and they could respond at the same time about their interest in attending a get together, whether it's this summer. That's part of our discussion for today.
Right.
What about the other guys here? Are you guys interested in that at all?
You got a Venmo account?
Pardon?
You have a Venmo account?
Venmo.
Oh,
How to get
It's a way of sending money, I think.
Oh, no, I guess I don't have one of those.
How about Zelle?
about the old-fashioned way of checking the mail?
Yeah, I can check the mail.
Oh,
No,
that's
a check in the mail.
Yeah.
You already checked the mail. There's nothing in it. So
Yeah, we could do it that way, and I could just, if
That's the
Yeah,
old
the
post office.
Bill, with your luck with the post office, you'll never get those checks.
not at that place.
yeah, right. Actually, just again, look, I'm trying to get asked to unmute. Now maybe it's Norb that has muted. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he has it. He has it now, Bill. It's on. At
Yeah.
least it shows on the screen that
It
it's
shows them muted
muted.
there. All right.
Oh, the technology. And we were talking about digitizing something from 60.
Yeah. Now we have no
65 years.
face, no face,
65.
no words for Norb.
Hey guys, I got to take off, but I am interested in getting together. If there is a plan for it, let me know.
Right,
Yes.
right.
I'll keep Mike informed. I see him all the time at church. Yeah. Bye, Mike.
Yeah.
Good evening. Nope.
So,
Mike.
yes, a check in the mail would be just as good. I mean,
Then we need
Big
your
cash?
address.
yeah, and my plan would be to include where to mail it to.
Oh, okay. Very good.
So, and we'll see what happens. And if it looks like we're not going to get enough to get it done, then I'll just hang on to the checks for a little while, and then if there's
Send them
nothing's
back.
coming of it, I'll just send them back. But like I
All right.
said, I'm curious about what he captured, and that gets us back to the other depository of information that Norb mentioned a long time ago, was that Bob Lazinski's wife may have some of his records still available. And Norb had mentioned that he thought Norb had collected, Bob Lazinski from his class had collected a lot of stuff over the years as well. He made those videos, a couple of videos about life in the seminary, and he actually used a lot of photographs that he had.
Well, his dad owned a pharmacy. It was right across the street almost from where my grandfather lived.
Right. And he did the recordings, the audio recordings of things like the Mikado and
Oh yeah, he was in
and
it, wasn't he?
the masses and
Yeah.
organ pieces. So anyway, Norb had thought that maybe his wife may still have some of his old records.
Is he still alive?
No, he passed
passed?
away a while back.
Oh, okay.
So it would be, just a matter of whether, especially Norb, and there's somebody else from his class that's
Mhm.
participates every now and then. But that's another treasure trove of stuff. Now, the other thing, just in general, we've pretty much located I say we, that's Jim Blanchard has been working with Angela Yondo, and who's the head of the archives for the Grand Rapids Diocese have pretty much reached the limit on what copies of the old recorders are available and scannable. There's a couple of things that Jim just hasn't got to, and Angela, well, a couple of them are in kind of a situation where it would take Angela and the equipment that she has to actually scan those newsletters so that they're readable. Just a little footnote in there. One of the problems with flatbed scanners is my scanner in particular, only the range that it covers is 8.5 by 11. If there's anything, even a fraction of an inch over that, I can't scan it. And so when I was doing some of these things originally, I was running into this problem. I thought, well, this is kind of crazy. Then I realized, I got out my ruler, and most of them were not 8.5 by 11. They were 8 and 5/8 by 11 or something like that. I realized that they didn't trim the things until they were all put together and stapled together, and that's when they would trim them down. So that was a major hassle in trying to scan them and make them available, except that Angela has equipment that is able to scan larger images. And so she was in, Jim Blanchard were working on those over the last few months. But now they're down to the fact that they only have a few of those that are in the archives that can be scanned. One of the big issues is that many of the early editions, like before 1950, had been hardbound into, a book form, and so to try and scan those is just a real hassle. They can be done if you have the right equipment to do it, but it would be a major undertaking to try and scan something out of a bound edition of anything. So that's where we stand on that. Ironically, our first year, the class of 1966, our first year was 1960 to 61. We've located all but the class of 1961 graduation edition from May, June of 1961. And so Jim is coming up with that. And once we have that in place, then I will add it to what we have. The only edition that I had access to was the winter or the December one, where it had the Mikado as the big story that year. But and I mentioned several times that a lot of stuff was going on in 1961, in particular 66. Well, wait a minute, I got sidetracked. Oh, the stuff that was going on in 1960 to 61, there were a lot of stuff. I kind of vaguely remember stuff, but haven't been able to find, or up until this point, haven't gotten the newsletters or the recorders. I did find that infamous issue where it was reporting on the fence. Remember, it turns out that it had to have taken place like at the springtime, because it was like that issue that said, we come back from vacation and find out that we're now surrounded by a fence that was facing in.
Prisoner.
Right, exactly. So I found that one. So that kind of reaffirms what our memories of that particular year was, and the reaction of people on the grounds. It just happened while we were there, or weren't even there. I think it was like the Easter vacation or something like that. lo and behold, here it is, locked in. So anyway, I found that one. So that's going to be up shortly, and that will kind of complete what we've been able to find. Now, there are a couple of issues that just sort of have gone by the wayside, and nobody seems to know, have any record of where they went to. And I was trying to figure out even from, what happened in the 1970s, in the years, or the late 60s. It looks like there was one or two attempts to publish a recorder, but I found a couple of issues, and that was about the extent of it. It didn't look like they were being published anymore on a regular basis. So anyway, we've got just about all that we're going to find in the way of newsletters. Now, the other thing that Jim was going to start looking for with Angela's help were those things that came out usually in the springtime. They were called the Bulletin.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the bulletins? They had, it was sort of like it was a publication that went over kind of a rundown on the whole seminary life, and it was sent out to seminarians and families, but and to parishes that were sort of used as a recruiting tool. And the nice thing, and I think Frank, you sent one over to me from the I think it was called 66, 67.
Yeah.
That's it. That is it right there.
That looks like the Book of Rules.
Right.
It does. It does look like it.
Well, the Book of Rules was something separate, and Frank sent.
I know, but I mean, the cover looks just like that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, this is the only one I have.
Right. Now, the nice thing about that is that that came out. We would have seen it like in May of 1966, and it had a listing in the back of all of the names of the guys who were in the classes 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So that is the closest thing we have to a roster of who was there in any given year. But so far, that's the only one. Yep. Register of students.
I might have seen that, but you know what, Bill? I think that the year the class I was in graduated, I don't think they did any of that stuff because they didn't want to pay the money for it and they were embarrassed. And so,
you guys were a big
like our pictures weren't even put on the wall, and eventually I guess they were. So, I mean, they didn't even have a mass for us.
Right, I
graduated.
remember.
So I think that was an aberrant year, or whatever you want to call it. But
right,
I've never seen. That's the first time, Frank, I think I've ever seen something like that.
Yeah,
I recall.
The only one I have is this year, and we're in the. I mean, all of our class of '66 is listed as second college. Scholastic year 64 to 65. So Paul Banner is the top of the list.
Right.
He always was.
No, he's the first.
I know.
And I was always at the bottom.
And Tom Zibikowski was at the bottom, yeah.
Tom Zibby.
You were second to the bottom, Bill.
Second to the bottom. I didn't even rate being at the bottom of the list. But if you look at that list there, you see that Jim Hannick is not listed in there because he had gone at that. I
had forgotten about this, but Jim told me he left in December of 65.
Right.
And attended Loyola in Chicago for one semester.
Right.
And then Monsignor Moran allowed him to come back.
Right.
And he's not on that photo of our class of 66. Right. Jim is not in there.
Right. So.
Oh, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there at the end of the 60s.
Yeah, no picture of him. He's nothing in print. lot of letters to the editor.
Must have been, he was on the transfer portal for that year, right?
Good question. I
But
asked
anyway.
him if he had any memory, because I was trying to remember what happened that May. Remember, that was to me that what happened at the end of that year of 66, May of 66, was an important part of my ultimate decision to leave the seminary.
Right.
He wasn't there. That surprised me. I'd forgotten all about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's right.
And I would like to find the bulletins of the years leading up to that, before that, because again, they would list the who was attending the cemetery in the spring of that particular year. If you had decided not to come back in January after the Christmas holiday, then you weren't on that list. I'm just guessing, but it would be kind of interesting to look at some of those back issues, because they also included the faculty members, and that one, it shows the faculty that were hired after June of 66 or during June of 66. Some names that of the priests that I recognize their names from the subsequent year after we had left, but it was kind of interesting to look at the little bios of the faculty, who was doing what and what their academic training is. There was a section in there that the school, or a day in the life. Here's what when the bells go off in the morning, and followed you through the typical schedule, that kind of thing. So again, that's another kind of bit of our collective history that it would be interesting to locate. So that's the next kind of thing that Jim and Angela are going to work on. So
They sound like hunting down ships that have sunken in Lake Michigan or something.
right.
But what I think that is it's like a yearbook, but it also is a kind of a census of the records that particular academic year.
Right.
But I've never seen that before. I appreciate just seeing that existed.
Yeah, I'll send a link over to as part of the recording.
Bill, I sent you a copy of this, didn't I, Bill?
Yes. That's what I used to put on the web.
That's the only one I have. So if we got one every year, I guess I didn't.
I guess
I never remember any of that, but I'm not,
Well, I vaguely remember getting it, but who was paying attention to that?
I could see how this could be used as by the various churches in our diocese to talk about vocations and
Right, exactly. And I think the roster shows what parish.
Yeah, it does.
Everybody was from. So, right. So,
for instance, there were 3 at this point. Albert and I were in the class of 64. Actually, why does it say 64, 65? Scholastic year 64, 65. The top.
You were the second year. That was your last year.
We were the second college.
Yeah,
last year.
But the end of that year was 66. May of 66.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, statistics, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Small point.
We knew where we were, whether they published it right or not.
Yeah, right. We knew where we were.
And we knew what happened in May.
right. By the way, that made me think of another thing. When I looked at some of the yearbooks back when it was actually, at that point, the seminary had redefined itself as a preparatory seminary. It was a high school. And they had a picture of the first year dorms, and they weren't the old bunk beds that we remember. They were just single beds.
That's because they didn't have as many people.
Yeah.
I know, but I just wonder at what point did they decide, well, and what are we going to do with these bunk beds now? That I think that was Father Zaskowski that went out and got those from the Army surplus, as I recall.
Yeah, but they just could take the screws out and they had holes in them to make two beds. So.
That could be.
You're right.
They
This
debunked
is
them.
kind of a little change of subject, but one of my worst memories in life was that when I was fortunately, I was not going to Vietnam, but I was in the room at Alameda where they processed the military to go to Vietnam, and it was like larger than the gym, and it was just filled with beds, the bunk beds, and then you kept your overseas bag. So I went to bed and woke up that morning. There must have been 300 or more guys in that room. And when I woke up in the morning, there were about 6. And it really made me feel bad because all the rest of them are all going to Nam. And I was just, I just have bad memories of that in a way, or sad, really.
My parents got a couple of bunk beds for my 2 brothers and me. And they were the wooden bunk beds. It said right on the end of the U.S. Army.
Well, I remember Zibby had a buddy, Rudy Zant. One was on top and one was on the bottom. And early on, they used to fake that they were talking in their sleep. They'd talk to each other, and then they got caught.
Yeah. Well, Bill, that's how you and I got to be bunk beds, because the Z's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Lord.
The Z's had the
and people like Norb, looking back, until they opened the St. Henry's Hall, I think in 57, that main building must have been bursting at the seams with.
It was. I think it was.
My God, to have 6 years worth of classes, all sleeping on that 3rd and 4th floor, there couldn't have been an empty space anywhere. And I was trying to remember, there was that thing called the corrals.
Right.
Yeah.
That was on the
Yeah.
side
I was
by
in
St.
those.
Henry's. And that would be like on the east side, I guess. But yeah.
Right. The 3rd year students slept in those rooms.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember some of us slept on the 4th floor in that converted
It was
attic.
an attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But let's say in the, Dick Gallant, where were you staying? Were you in the corrals, or were you?
No, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember being in the corrals. I was in the open dorm, I guess on the west side as a first year. Second year, I was in the attic. And the third year, I went to the 2 rooms.
Right.
And the only thing I can remember, because every once in a while or whatever, I was in the infirmary, and like overnight. So when the bell rang, all you would hear is this thunderous sound of everybody jumping out of their beds at the same time. It was like a cannon went off.
Never thought of that.
Well, you had to, I think it was 20 minutes. You had to brush your teeth, and I guess we were young enough you didn't have to shave, but I mean, you had to be ready in 20 minutes or half hour. It was really fast. And they didn't have a lot of sinks either. I mean, everything was timed.
First come, first serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everybody's running all the time.
And the noise going down those stairs. Remember that stairwell was.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a tremendous foot noise.
Now it's interesting when I looked at some of the recorders, or maybe it was the yearbook from around 1970 or so, and this had to have been after Mitch had passed away or whatever. A student was placed in charge of the wake up call or the wake up
Really?
bells. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just thought the bells were on a timer. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was listed. They were they had a specific title for that job. Just like, some of us were the sacristan or the master of ceremonies. There was a title that was given to them, and they had to be there, get up early enough to go over and ring the bell to get everybody going. And those weren't set on any kind of timer. Somebody had to sit there and do it, and it was sort of like Bill Gebhard being in charge of maintaining the whole property. Somebody was in charge of the regimen there in the final years, but that's really kind of strange. And the attic or the fourth floor, as far as I know, they stopped the remodeling at that point. That nothing was ever done on that level. There's a stairway going up to that area, but it's all plasterboarded over. And
think of the safety issues that they had to, and those were probably more lenient than they would be today if they were, how do you get out of there if there's a fire?
Right. Well, I remember in one of the recorders there was a big thing about over one of the summers when we got back, the stairwell was all enclosed.
Right.
And there was a thing in the recorder that said the fire marshal had decided that was just like it was like a chimney.
Right.
Fire down below is just going to go right up that flue and put an end to anything that was above it. So it's kind of amazing that when you look back at the whole safety of the buildings, it was.
Think about this a little bit different, but think if COVID hit the seminary.
Oh.
What a mess.
Well, that sort of happened it happened once in the mid-40s, and again sometime in the 50s. Influenza was the big thing at that point.
Right, yeah, there was a lot of flu.
And flu, that was before vaccinations. And boy, I think it was one of the articles dealt with the fact that there were so many faculty and students who were sick that they closed off some of the classrooms and converted them into wards. And it ripped through in a couple of weeks and it was gone. And there were just those dorms, and when you think of everybody that within inches of one another all those times, it's really kind of amazing.
The thing that amazed me as an infirmarian, that Sister Christopher, she really never gave me any instructions, but I always was giving people penicillin shots all the time. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had no,
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Medical training.
I came down with me,
I came down with some flu, and they didn't know what the heck. There was penicillin was sort of the last resort.
Right.
Remember the sulfa drugs?
Yeah. Gantricin was called.
Gave you a supply of those to see what would happen. If they didn't have, then call on Dick Gallant to come around and give you a shot in the butt.
No, I gave muscle shots in the arm, but
oh well.
They would come in and they'd say, "Sister, it hurts every time I breathe." seatbelt. Don't breathe. And then look at her.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, again, I spotted this in one of the recorders that she was so highly thought of that they named Christopher House after her.
I didn't realize that, but
I didn't either.
I really liked working with her. The only time I couldn't believe this, I was worried about, I hadn't studied for an exam or something, and I was supposed to go to the infirmary, and I didn't, and I studied, and I didn't tell her, and when I came back, she really lit into me. She was really disappointed, and she really cared, and I was just really amazed at how loyal she was to you also.
Right.
She really was a very nice lady, you know.
She was.
Now, speaking of infirmarians, you guys from the class of 66, who was in our class who was in the infirmarian? Do you remember, Dick? Or who was
No, I don't.
I don't.
I remember Jim Masuga was, and I don't remember, he was like with Norm, but I don't remember the others very well.
I think it was
They had
Jim
already
Hammond.
I think you might be right, but I
think
don't.
it was Jim
okay.
Hammond.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who?
Jim
Who
Hammond.
did you say? Jim Hammond?
Jim Hammond.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, he just moved back to Michigan. We caught up with him at that last get-together.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know how he's doing? Because he had a lot of health concerns. Those of us who stayed at the very end, he talked about how his stomach was not
Mhm.
Right.
not well.
Haven't heard.
He had to be on a
I haven't
very
heard.
strict
Where
diet.
where did he come? Where did he come back to in Michigan?
I
Kalamazoo?
think West
I
Virginia.
believe he was from there. Was he from Kalamazoo, Paul?
Yeah, he was from Portage area.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And he went right back to the Portage
He
area.
went back to this, not the same house, but the same.
Yeah.
No, but
Okay.
pretty much in the same area. Mhm.
Right. Well, he was in West Virginia
Well,
when
he
we
taught at James Madison, didn't he?
Pardon?
I thought he taught EMT at James Madison College. That's in Virginia, not West
Yeah,
Virginia.
Yeah, it was Virginia, right? That's
I
correct.
can't think of the name of the town it's in, but it's kind of rural Virginia.
Right.
He
think you're
started
correct.
the physician assistant program.
Thanks,
Physician
Bill. Or Pete. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Pete. Good to see you, Pete.
Yeah.
Hi, Pete.
Yeah, hi, Pete.
You guys ever forget things?
Sure.
Yeah,
All the time.
all the time.
Like at 7 o'clock to turn on your Zoom?
Oh, is that what happened?
I set an alarm.
That's a good idea.
fortunately for me, I've set up the Zoom session so whoever logs on first or shows his face up, that starts the clock running.
Uh-oh.
So I have a couple of those earlier sessions from way back where all you see is Paul Banner
Yeah.
staring around waiting for somebody.
Wait.
And it's set up so that the last one out doesn't have to worry about turning out the lights because the recording stops when the last one fades
Logs
out.
out.
So I don't
That's
even
why
have to
Paul's
show up
name is
anymore.
first in all the lists, isn't it?
Right. So
Okay.
by way of, if for some reason I don't show up, just remember that when you logged on, there was that voice that said recording in session. So it's being recorded, and even if I'm not there.
Oh, I see. I see.
Watch what you say then, right?
Right. And don't forget that all of the sessions that we've had are also on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
We
Right. Yeah, when I miss them, I have to log in the next day and watch them.
right, yeah. And then I put them on the website as well. So some of our I try to get I'm not very good at editing these things. So there's been one or two instances where I might have taken something a blurb out just so it would be.
Was that to protect yourself on that one?
Right, mostly to protect me for something really stupid that I just said.
That's why I'm on mute. I don't want you recording something I don't want to say.
Okay, now Norb, whoop, he was.
Yeah, what?
He went on.
Okay, now you're back on. We can't see your picture.
It's
Oh,
okay. We can imagine.
Now you muted yourself.
Yeah, wrong button.
Right, wrong button. There.
All right. We still can't talk to you. Can't hear you.
Okay, there you go. Round of
sure.
applause for Norb.
I always do this. I put myself on mute, and then when I want to talk, I press the space bar.
Except when you're on the phone.
Except, yeah, so you couldn't hear me, right?
Oh yeah.
We could.
What?
We could hear you.
They're trying to give you answers.
We had to mute you.
I was on mute. I don't know why you could hear me.
No, you were not. We heard
Don't
everything.
touch anything.
Anyways,
So
You
you
kept
muted.
apologizing to the person and saying you were going to have to go because you were on with us. And
Yeah.
we knew you were because we could hear you.
Sorry. I wish I had known that. I would have.
We did a
you can view it on
workaround.
YouTube.
Bill took care of it.
But you muted me then, right?
Yeah, I
Good.
finally figured out how to mute you. So
Good. That's good. You need to be able to do that.
right,
We needed a little humor.
right. So let's see. We have talked. The only thing we haven't talked about is what to do about having any sort of get together. If we
Right.
want to do that again sometime in the spring or summer. This is spring, isn't it?
Yes. It'll soon be summer.
Well,
Yeah. You know, I was thinking just in general, that time that we went to that restaurant, and I can't remember, it was the year before we got together at Bill's place.
it was in
One
Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo.
in Portage? Portage,
Yeah,
actually.
Was that actually Portage?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
That's a technicality on the city line.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Oh, you don't want to go there. Black Rock. It's too noisy.
Black
You
Rock,
couldn't hear
yeah.
each other. Couldn't hear
Right.
each other across the table. It was too. The acoustics were terrible. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that was about the only thing that
You had a good turnout.
yeah, we
Oh, yeah.
had like 20
well, there's other
people or-
restaurants.
right.
There's other restaurants in the area.
and
We could come up with.
I think one of our objections or concerns was that the way the room was set up was all one big long. It's like sort of like the
Couldn't
Last
see
Supper.
anybody. I mean, you
Right.
want to have it like in a circle or something.
Right.
Right.
And the acoustics were atrocious.
So anyway, I guess my initial thought was if we could find a location like that
Yeah, but with better acoustics inside.
in a location that is accessible to folks. Not that we
The advantage of where we met, actually the last two times, from my viewpoint, a lot of us live close to 94.
right.
Mhm.
And then close to like in Kalamazoo, where there seems to be kind of strategically even for everybody, to get to, so to speak.
Right. It's only
I've got
a 3-hour drive for me from Chicago to get to Kalamazoo.
But-
Right. But I
You know,
mean,
you got taxi service from New Buffalo, right?
That's
Frank?
right. If I stop and visit Al first, I
okay.
get a
Yeah.
ride with Al.
But I have a suggestion, and you can take it as a grain of salt, but there's a lot of places along 94 at Battle Creek. There's a Chinese restaurant where all Wahmhoff cousins get together every month, not trying to push Chinese food or anything, but there's a lot of places, and that has a special room that can reserve and have tables and, but that's just one possibility in Battle Creek.
Battle Creek isn't bad.
No, it wasn't
And
good.
it's
No, it's I mean,
it's
I'm
on the
looking
front.
coming from Ann Arbor, Detroit area.
right.
It's a straight
Or
shot.
Or there's Marshall, Michigan, which is just a little bit further, you know.
Yeah,
south
Marshall
of-
wouldn't be bad. That's closer
That's-
to Lansing.
And
I offered last year, I'll offer again. You can come to my house in Battlefield.
Finally! All right.
I liked Bill's location.
I thought that was, Bill, I liked it, to be honest with you. You were very gracious.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
More
It's
than
fine with me. I don't have to clear it with anybody.
Yeah, right.
You're okay with that, Bill? With 40 people coming, 30 people coming, maybe?
Sure. I've had 60 to 80 here in the past, so
Really?
yeah.
I mean, we could all contribute to make it a little less a burden on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pray for
Bill provided everything last time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Just about. Yeah, you're right, Pete.
Yeah, we should all bring something, yeah.
At least beverage, anyway. Wine.
Hey, Norb, how about you? Was it you and Jerry came down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it? I mean, it seemed to me that you were probably coming the furthest, except for Frank Marfia. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jerry.
It's not bad for me. 3 hours is not bad. Plus, I can stop at Albert's and visit with he and his wife.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours for me. Well, no, Kalamazoo is about 3 hours, so Battle Creek would be closer.
You can cut down through Lansing, can't you?
Oh, yeah, that's where you go, yeah.
Yeah. That isn't that bad.
127 to 69 to.
What, at 69 and then to 94?
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I've got two kids in Chicago, and it's 3 hours for me to get to downtown
Yeah.
Chicago from here.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad drive, really.
From where? Where are you?
I'm in the north side of the city. I'm in the city, but I'm in Portage Park. It's not that far from O'Hare.
Are you going to bring Cub hats, Frank?
No, I'm not a Cub fan, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm a White Sox fan.
Oh,
And they're doing terrible.
terrible stadium.
No, I'm not a Cub fan. My wife grew up about a mile from Cubs.
Really?
Yep.
Hey, speaking of that, how many of you are Tiger fans?
I am.
They're winning.
Can't watch them.
Yeah, I was curious about if there was anybody that's not part of the Comcast system. Apparently, those of us in Comcast can't. I mean, we can't watch.
No,
them. Bally
because they
Sport-
have the contract with Bally Sports, and they
Broke it.
yeah,
you know,
it's a bummer.
I can't. For the life of me, I can't. This whole thing about this bankruptcy of Bally Sports and its parent company has been going on for a couple of years.
Right.
And they've still, did they just give up on paying Comcast?
They didn't have any money, and they finally just called them. I think they called their Mark, just because they were having problems last year too with over those issues.
Right. And we remember, my wife and I had been watching them on a regular basis, but every now and then the broadcast would show up on TNT, or Major League Baseball would take it over for a few of the broadcasts. I think they were testing what they could do in the event that they wanted to dump Bally Sport. Now, here's the thing. I decided I wanted to go back in and figure out who in the heck owns these rights.
Right.
Especially
Mhm.
the rights for television broadcasts.
MLB.
MLB. Now, how is it that each team doesn't have their own rights? Does anybody have a?
Because they
Sold it, Tiger.
it's like they all come together, and it's all under MLB.
Yeah.
It's just like the Big Ten. I mean, the schools have different. They do somewhat make money, but the Big Ten kind of calls the rules to govern them and everything. I mean, you're going to see some significant changes now in the fall when they start playing teams from the West Coast and that.
When they become the Big 45 or something.
Well, it could be, Bill. But, Texas and USC are playing, and Oregon are playing in Ann Arbor this year.
Well, at any rate, we've had to make some big adjustments in our household. What we figured out, we have a radio station that's part of the. And how come this doesn't apply to the radio stations? I haven't been able to figure
Because
that
they
one
have
out.
different rights.
Right. I mean,
It's a different contract.
now, going back to Briggs, how many people remember Briggs as the owner
Yeah.
of the Tigers?
Walter
Yes.
O. Spike Briggs.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Briggs Stadium.
Briggs owned a big chain of radio stations on the west side of the state. So
Fetzer did. You're thinking of Fetzer. He was
Fetzer.
from Kalamazoo.
Oh, sorry. I mean, yeah, that's right. The Fetzer Broadcasting Company. That's it.
WKZO.
And I, growing up in Muskegon, we would get Kalamazoo
Yep.
direct to you.
Larry Osterman. You remember Larry Osterman on Channel 3?
Yep.
He married Fetzer's daughter.
Right.
That's why he got all. I'm not kidding you. You didn't know that?
Can we
If
say
you guys-
nepotism?
If you guys hurry, you can catch the Tigers right now on TV on FS1. It's in the
Okay.
bottom of the eighth.
Oh no!
What's the score?
They are losing 2-1.
Oh no!
Has to be four in a
Cleveland,
row.
aren't they?
Four
Four
hits.
Four in a row.
Four
Cleveland, yeah.
hits. Oh, they're really bashing the ball.
They can't hit the ball.
No.
But we've hobbled together a way of following a game. We have this radio station that we listen to for the audio, and then I can go on to the Tigers website, and they have a feature called Play by Play,
Right.
and you can see exactly, and it's a few seconds ahead of the radio broadcast, so you can see, what the pitch was, who hit it, what, or what the score is, about sometimes 15, 20, even as long as 30 seconds before it hits the radio. So I'm doing that while my wife is listening to the radio, and this goes back to the old days when we all listened to the radio for baseball games.
Well, I have what I do is something that I had to sign up for at the beginning of the year, but it costs me $30 for the year to be through MLB to get the audio and what you're calling a graphics of what's going on any of the,
Okay.
Well, you can get that on the internet
At
too.
any
Yeah,
time.
not the audio.
pardon,
That's
the
neat.
audio too, yes.
Harry Heilman during the Depression and that in the Second World War, they went on the radio. They'd get a ticker tape. They'd be like in Detroit, and they'd be playing in Chicago.
Right.
And so Harry Heilman used to say, "Oh, wouldn't this be a great time for a home run? Oh, there's a long belt." And that's how he announced the games, because what you're talking about, Bill, and he was a really great announcer.
He could anticipate.
Let's go back to our summer gathering or fall gathering.
Maybe
we ought to go to Tiger Stadium, Frank.
Yeah,
or Wrigley Field.
So, Bill Gebhard, are you serious about offering your house again?
I am serious.
He's not going to be there, but
Because I like that idea. It was really comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, he'll have to pick the day for us, I guess, probably.
Yeah. Well, what would be convenient for you? What date? We can probably all work around it.
I was just looking at the calendar. It's crazy June and July, but late August looks better, or early September.
Okay.
I think last year, Bill, was around August 12th, wasn't it?
Yeah, but late August is fine with me because I've got a doctor's appointment on August 19th that I probably can't miss.
August 16th was last year, August 16th.
16th. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm grandpa daycare that week, so I can't do that because I'll be in Chicago. But we did it on a Wednesday, I believe, didn't we?
Yes.
So
Was it a weekly? Okay.
21st?
21st or the 28th. 28th would be better, but I can do the 21st.
28th would be better for me, but
I would prefer the other week earlier because it gets close to,
Memorial.
Labor Day.
yeah, and
Labor
I may
Day.
have to go to New York.
Labor Day is the following week.
So 21st, would that work for most?
I hope so.
Works for me.
I might have to miss it because as I said, I got a
You said
daughter.
the 19th, Frank, you had something.
I have something on the 19th, but I can probably, I'm going to try to get that doctor's appointment changed. But my daughter's going to be in northern Wisconsin the week of the 15th through the 22nd. So we probably
Would-
Well,
Would
does
it
she
be
need to
better?
drive?
Pardon?
Does she need to drive you or?
No. She's going to fly into Minneapolis and then drive with her husband up to.
Oh,
Would
I
it be
see.
better the second week of September?
No, yeah, that would be also a good time. But is that too late?
On a Wednesday?
Yeah,
What day would that be?
like the 11th of September. Does that work?
Yeah, that would.
9/11.
September 11th. Oh, wow.
9/11.
Yeah, but it's a Wednesday.
We can remember that, 9/11. Who will forget that?
That would be a good day for me. But I don't want to be the only one deciding.
No.
I can try to make the 21st, but it
Oh, the 11th is fine. I mean, Bill's gonna just get back Sunday, the 20th, maybe, so that's kind of quick for him to
Right.
clean
Yes.
the house.
Yeah, let's do 9/11.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
unless,
We'll work
we
around
can't get
it.
enough people, then we'll play around, but let's put it out there for 9/11.
Right.
Okay.
When we met in St. Joe, the first time we had a gathering, there was only maybe 8 of us. It was in September, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a
it
good.
was nice. Nice weather there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Too close to New Buffalo.
I happened to stumble across a copy of our meeting. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago on this very day, the same August 6th. And what do you know? We were spending most of the time talking about when are we going to meet?
Well,
And figure out
remember,
everybody's schedule and what would work for them.
Okay.
remember there was a discussion during either the early part of COVID where we were going to all gather in Grand Rapids,
You're right.
and we finally just canceled it because it was just too
Right.
much.
Yeah, we got to that point where it was on and then it was off and then it was on again and then we
They canceled it
collectively
for another
decided that we weren't going to do it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
again, get down to Norb for a second. I mean, when you did that one at what parish was that in? With
St. Peter and Paul.
yeah, St. Peter and Paul was. That was a really great get together.
Thank you.
Yeah, but but also Dennis.
Morrow.
Morrow, thanks. He was a big driver for it too. Yeah, I agree. It was a good session.
I have sad memories of that because I did not get an invite.
What?
No,
I'm
never heard
sorry.
about it.
Never heard
I was
about it
in
either.
Iowa. I was in Iowa and I would have driven right over there, but no invite.
What's your name?
Al Wahmhoff.
Oh, yeah. No, you were on the list.
I got nothing. No emails, no nothing.
No.
Well, we didn't know you.
Nor did I, Al.
We didn't
Nor
know
did I.
you. We didn't know where you were. I thought, did you have a brother that was in the seminary? Because that Wahmhoff is very.
I had a cousin that was older than you, Norb.
And so he was in the seminary.
Jerry.
Okay.
He went on to be a professor up in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
He taught philosophy up there.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
Anyway,
because that was a great event. I totally agree.
Yeah,
Glad I'm
that's why I feel so sad about it. But
Yeah. Right. Right.
I'll get over it.
But yeah. Okay.
Let's back up for a second while Pete's on. Pete, you really made a discovery with that article about Joe Amar, or the one that he put together. Is it Amar?
Amar.
Amar. Yeah, we remember I mentioned in Pete was in touch with him about how we could reproduce that article or that he. But I know that we had mentioned his name quite a bit over the last year or so as one of those guys that we had really kind of lost touch with. And then out of the blue, Pete has discovered this article that he wrote, which was really fabulous. I mean, I learned an awful lot about what has been going on for centuries in the Middle East and who's doing what to whom. And it was really a fascinating piece of history that you discovered. And how is it that you get the magazine? Is it, what's it called?
Commonweal.
Commonweal.
Well, I don't get it. Joe actually emailed it to me.
Oh.
He and I went out to dinner this summer.
Oh,
And he told me he was writing the article, and I said, would you please send me a copy when it's finished? And yeah, he sent it to me. The funny thing is we could not get out of him what years he was at St. Joe's. He would not answer. I asked him maybe 3 different times, what years was he there? I had an addressograph of us in 1966 with him listed in the class of 68.
That's right.
That sounds about right.
Which would have made him 2 years behind
Right.
us.
Right. That's correct, Pete.
But I don't know if
St. Thomas. He went to St. Thomas. I went to grade school with him, and you're correct.
Oh, okay.
I remember.
But I
him being
thought
on
he
a table with us.
was held back a year at St. Joe's. But I may be mistaken.
I mean, he might have had some issues there. I don't know, but he was behind. I know he was 2 years behind me in St. Thomas.
Joseph Amar, right?
Say again?
Joseph
He was
Amar.
always he had a sister. His whole family lived right in our parish.
He was a classmate of my cousin Jim Marfia.
Yes. Yep.
So how far behind us was he?
2 years behind us.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he went all 6 years or after
I don't
high school.
think so.
He went
I
into
think
the
he
other
went
seminary.
to he was there, but he wanted to go to the Maronite. So I think he went to Catholic University or something like that, and then matriculated that way, so to speak. But I don't believe he graduated from St. Joe's.
Did one of our classmates become a
Did he ever marry?
Jesuit?
Did he ever?
He might have. He might have.
He did not marry. He could have married, but he did not.
Yeah,
That's right.
He did not.
He got his doctorate and then taught for many years at Notre Dame.
I see. Right below me.
Yeah.
Did one of our classmates become a Jesuit? Was one of the
Chris Mulcahy, he went to the seminary.
Okay.
But he didn't.
But he cut part of his finger off at his father's and the saw. His father was a carpenter.
Yeah.
And he told us they would not ordain him because that finger could not be used or something to hold the host or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Your first
Is that
finger.
right, Bill? Paul, you remember that?
I did not know anything about that. Actually, until after I cut the end of my thumb off. Just recent.
Father McKinney had a brother. I can't think of his name, and he was a priest too. And they had some type of an accident that created.
A tree fell on him.
Pardon me? Yeah, a tree fell on him.
A tree fell on him and crippled him for the rest of his life.
Yeah. But I don't know if it prevented him from some priestly things or not. I don't know. I mean, just kind of,
He was already ordained, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Was he able to be a priest after? I mean, did they let him do it?
I really don't know, Mike. I just remember that he had a tragic accident, and
yeah, okay, yeah.
And it did involve
my understanding.
Chris Mulcahy also that happened to him too.
Right.
Okay, but Paul said something.
My understanding is that canon law says that a priest cannot celebrate Mass if one of his hands is maimed in some fashion.
Yeah.
And there are there have been priests, and maybe these were all canonized. I'm not sure about that. Who were given special dispensation.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That happened.
Jones. Yeah.
That happened to the pastor of my parish in Muskegon, St. Joe's. Later in his life, he developed some problem with his hand and had to have one of his fingers or thumb removed. But he got a special dispensation to continue as a celebrant of the Eucharist. So, that.
What if a priest had a stroke and was paralyzed or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know specifically what that interpretation is there.
Yeah, I don't know what rules are now either, but it seems to me, talking about rules, that being left-handed was also you couldn't become a priest.
Left what?
Left-handed.
Left-handed.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Serious?
But my pastor right now is left-handed.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking a deacon gives out communion left-handed, and we were taught that that was wrong.
I know.
Oh, dear.
I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. I want to since I'm talking, I really apologize for the phone call. I really thought I was on mute.
That's okay, Norm.
It's not okay, Norm.
We forgive you, Norm.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He didn't hear a thing.
Don't we have the strangest rules and petty stuff? It's embarrassing.
We do.
The whole left-handed thing. In my family, I was right-handed. My younger sister was right-handed. My older brother was left-handed, but he was converted. And I think it had to do with the nuns in our parish who, insisted that you write with your right hand. And my younger brother was left-handed, and he came home one day just in tears because, the sister was really upset with him that he was right-handed or left-handed, and he just couldn't, make sense of it. It's just when you talk about, dumb stuff.
Well, the seminary did not have desks for left-handers, did they?
No,
Bill?
they did not.
Okay.
What's that?
They did not have desks for left-handed people.
Oh, okay.
My oldest brother, they had either my family or the nuns tied his left hand behind his back and made him write with his right hand.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That means Sandy Koufax could never have been a priest,
Probably.
Yeah.
Isn't the Latin word for left sinistra?
Sinister, yes.
And dexterous was a right hand.
Dexterous, yeah. Sinister.
Yes, you're
meant,
good. You're dexterous.
that was because if you were on the right hand, you went to heaven, and in the left hand, you went to hell, and that's the reason for all that.
Yeah.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Amazing.
It's crazy. It really is.
I'll bring this up at the next left-handers meeting because we're all going to come up to get you.
And we'll deserve it too.
Talking about rules, don't you wonder how the bishops do not understand why people are leaving the church? I mean,
obviously they don't.
Good rules. Right?
I don't challenge that. I think you're right.
By the time I'm being a little facetious here, but by the time you get to be a bishop, you've been so indoctrinated
Right.
that
I agree.
if you're not a bishop, you're not very much a Christian.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, true.
Those of us in the Detroit area remember the passing of Bishop Gumbleton.
Yeah.
Do you? Now that was a guy that I never interacted with him, but from what I had seen, was a really true Christian. He was a very caring guy, and he got into trouble with the local cardinal and the other bishops in the diocese over his his activities that to them just seemed to be, that's not something a bishop does. Live in an inner city parish. It's just incredible. And when he reached that mandatory retirement age of, what was it, 75 at the time, every bishop is supposed to submit their resignation.
Yes.
His was accepted. And he sort of pleaded that he be allowed to stay in his inner city parish and continue his ministry there. And whatever happened, I don't believe they even allowed him that dignity. And that, just it kind of flies in the face of everything.
Right.
Now, the other little interesting thing, I was curious about Cardinal Adam Maida. He is the cardinal in charge of the Archdiocese of Detroit. And the current Archbishop there is Bergeron.
Bignon.
Yeah. And he's, he can't be elevated to cardinal until, as long as Maida is still alive. And Maida is now 94 or something like that. And you never hear anything about him at all.
He's still alive? I thought he had died.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Wow.
He's still, yeah.
I don't think that's the only reason that Vigneron is not named a cardinal.
I
think you're right, Norm.
I think it has to do with Pope Francis. Carlson, Bishop Carlson, was in Saginaw Diocese and went from here to the Archdiocese of St. Louis just before Benedict resigned. He was on the road to being cardinal for sure. He's not a cardinal, and he won't be named.
It's unlikely that in Francis's pontificate, Detroit wouldn't be considered for a cardinalate.
Right.
That there are more deserving people in the third world who will do a better job. Did any of you have personal interaction with Bishop Gumbleton?
I did. He came to our parish and spoke a couple of times, I'm pretty sure. And I was chairman of the adult formation committee, and so I arranged that him to come to that. And it was interesting because he was very progressive. And some people from Grand Rapids in the Acton Institute came to that talk, and they were nice. They certainly objected to what Bishop Gumbleton was saying, and they said that, but they were polite about it. They didn't cause a ruckus. But that was one thing. He also came and spoke on the sex abuse situation.
Now, Norb, wasn't that one of the things that were raised about him, probably by the people up in that Leelanau area because he didn't seek the permission of the bishop up there to speak at that particular gathering. And I think that was one of the things that really irritated some of the other bishops in general, that if you're going to come into somebody else's backyard, you're supposed to get their clearance. I kind of vaguely remember that.
I don't remember. That was not the case in our situation because Bishop Hunter and Gumbleton were close friends.
Mm-hmm.
He had permission to come to our diocese. So that would have been a different situation that I'm not familiar with. But I also think his support of gay people was part of the.
I'm sure.
What they didn't like. He came out about, that's the wrong phrase, but he talked about that his brother, I think, was gay. And so he came out in support of gay people. But I think that was pretty late in his career. And I think he also was more strict regarding the sex abuse by priests. Most bishops, this may not be an accurate statement, but you get the idea. Most priests kind of wanted to cover it up or keep it quiet. And not that Gumbleton wanted it to be public, but he wanted to be more fair.
Transparent.
Transparent, yeah.
My take on Bishop Gumbleton, and I'm forgetting what the organization is. It's one of the progressive Catholic organizations.
Call to action.
What's that?
Call to action.
Yeah. The Bishop Gumbleton participated at the Call to Action National Conference in Milwaukee that Sue and I attended. And he's a very pastoral man, and a very imitator of Christ. He's a lot like Francis, and just that's the way he acted out his ministry, if you call it a ministry, his service. That he took people where they were at, and accepted them and took care of them. Those of you who have access to I have some memory lapse type issues here. The prioress, I think she's Benedictine, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Joan
Norb, tell me.
Yeah, Joan Chichester.
Yeah, Joan Chichester wrote a very, very moving commentary on his death. And she, one of the things that she related was that the Erie diocese had a progressive peace movement, and at some point after one of the racial things or something or other, I don't remember exactly, there was that Sister Joan and her order did a procession through the area, and Bishop Gumbleton came and joined them. And during the procession, he was carrying the cross, and Sister was looking up at the and this was back in the 60s, I think, but and maybe not, but she was looking up at all the parapets of these buildings on the side of the street where they were walking down, and she was concerned about someone having taken advantage of sight lines, and she took the cross away from Gumbleton, and he took it back away from her, and she said, "No, you can't." And he said, "You're a prioress. I'm just a bishop. I'm not important." That was his persona. He came to Kalamazoo, I don't know how long ago now, maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years, to one of our inner city parishes, and it was preaching about being good to people. Just very, very simple person. Just a very great man.
Thanks for sharing.
Are we going to finish by 9?
No.
Yeah, okay, let's look ahead at, we're on May 6th. Now, did we want to do it in 2 months? That would be July something?
Sounds appropriate, so we get plans to make sure for August.
That's good.
Okay, Bill.
What's the calendar like for you guys? And I don't, as always, I can look up there and see my calendar, but I can't read it, what July says.
That'd be around the 4th somewhere, I suppose.
July 1st is the first Monday in July, July 1st.
Too early.
July 1st?
July 8th.
July 8th would be 2 months, yeah.
That sounds good. Good for
That sounds
people?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Mhm.
Okay, Monday,
Okay,
July
okay.
1.
No, July 8th.
July 8th.
Oh, July 8th.
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess this time and the date kind of works out with everybody, and certainly by that time we'll have and we now know we're going to do 9/11
Mm-hmm.
at
We get together.
Hill's Place.
What time?
And Pete.
Noon?
Yeah.
Noon?
Noonish.
Does noon work for you?
Yeah, I think that's a good time, Bill.
I do too.
Let's see,
I
Dave.
remember
Hooper showed up
driving
at
around
6,
in
did he?
circles.
Set your
Driving around
alarm.
in circles in his driveway before we find.
Pete will have to set his alarm, huh?
Dave
It'll be
Hooper
easy
showed
to
up
find
after
the
we
second
left.
time. It'll be easy to find.
Alrighty. Thank you.
I don't want to influence your decision, but neither one of those dates will work for me. September 11th or what was it, July 8th? I'll be doing something those days, but
Well,
I'll catch up with you sooner or
No,
later.
something might change by September 11th.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's hope not. And
Well,
that's
I don't mean for the worse. I meant for the better.
Right, right. Yeah.
I didn't know about Bishop Gumbleton. I've just been reading. I
Oh.
went on my other computer. I was reading all about him. Interesting.
Mhm.
See,
Remember the name,
when you
but I
leave
will.
Michigan, you forget about all these. I mean, I've been out of Michigan now since '68, except to come back to visit my family occasionally. But
Yeah, he was a peace activist. He was,
yeah, I see.
Does Chicago have a cardinal?
I don't remember.
Oh,
Yes.
they do, Pete. Yes, they do. I met the old one. Shook his hand once at the cathedral. He was the short guy, and I can't.
Cupito, I think is his name.
Well, it could be, but I met the one before him
Before him.
in Chicago. That's the first time I ever shook a cardinal's hand. So
The current one was from North Dakota.
Yeah, he's from
Kupish is the cardinal.
or Washington or something.
no, he was from Washington, Frank, and he came to Chicago.
Yeah.
And the issue had to deal with money. As far as there were some money issues that he was supposedly a good expert at. I don't know.
That's a previous thing.
I don't keep track of cardinals and bishops anymore. I'm sorry.
You don't play chess?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
Now, the only thing I can remember about Chicago is
Here we go.
one of the
We were trying to
Okay.
finish by 9 o'clock, Bill.
oh well
Hey, Pete, you got an hour yet?
maybe you can answer me this, Frank. It seems like in their cathedral they had these what do they call the miters? Not the miters, but the other hats that the cardinals
Yeah,
wear.
they do. They hang them from the cathedral ceiling. There's about
Yeah.
5 of them. I've
Is
been
that-
to mass
Sure.
several times there. I go there, and I like the cathedral.
Yeah,
Is that
I've been
unique
there
to
maybe 10 years.
Chicago, or
Pardon me?
is that unique to Chicago?
No, that's a tradition.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Good night, guys.
All right.
What's the score, Pete?
Good to see you all. Have a good summer. Have a good
See you
summer.
guys. Be good.
Sleep
See ya.
well.
Be safe.
Take care, everyone.
Yep.
Right.